Hello again, and welcome to another edition of the All New Sports Show presented by Roger G. Taylor and Associates. I am Edward Green. Tony Dowdy will be joining me at the desk tonight to talk about our two huge high school football games from this Friday night. Southwest Edgecombe and Rocky Mount High School. One won, one didn't. We're going to break down all the action from this Friday night, give you a preview of this Friday night's state title game, hit Bishop's Corner, a Todd Gurley update, 60 seconds of soccer in Memoriam of West, and so much more. This is the All New Sports Show. Klopp was bound to lose sometime.
Dogs coming on a blitz, a nice pickup. Green gets rid of it and caught on the deflection. Put 6 on the board, Knight fans. That is a touchdown.
Haggerty is running hit and run, but it's right to Carter, who flips the second for one over to first in time for a double play to end the inning. And welcome everyone to the All New Sports Show presented by Roger G. Taylor and Associates. As mentioned, I'm Edward Green. This is not Wes Bradshaw. This is
a little weight loss.
There you go, just a little. This is Tony Dowdy here beside me, our marvelous third man in the booth who jumps in to fill in when necessary. We're going to be seeing him some in the coming weeks with basketball coming up, but there's no time to talk about basketball. Oh no, we're not thinking about that yet. We have still plenty of football in our coverage area to talk about. Two games this past Friday night. Southwest Edgecombe went on the road to Kinston High School. Took about that hour trip down there, and they had a whale of a game. And of course, Rocky Mount went west to Mebane to take on Eastern Alamance. Alamance County, a place that has not always been kind to the Griffons, but they had some very nice hospitality this past Friday night. We'll get to these games in a little bit. We do want to remind you that this show is always presented to you by Roger G. Taylor and Associates, as well as all the sponsors that you'll see on the bottom of the screen tonight. If you want to hit us up on social media, you can. Please follow us on Twitter at All New Sports Show. If you noticed, this past Friday night, I was out there freezing with no gloves on, trying to still tweet from my phone.
Rough life.
Yeah, terrible. so hard. Down there at field level, it's woe is me. But I'll be doing that again this Friday night. Why, you'll hear. But if you wanted to check us out at All New Sports Show, you can also find us on Facebook.com/All New Sports Show. You can find us on YouTube.com/The All New Sports Show. Follow us on Periscope if you want to see some live stuff. That's also at All New Sports Show. Finally, email us allnewsportshow@gmail.com. Send your letters, parcels, and early Christmas gifts. No live animals to 1701 Sunset Avenue, Suite 201, Rocky Mount, North Carolina 27804. And please check out our podcast on the iTunes Music Store, Podbean.com, and NGSC Sports. We're known as A Foreign Affair there. Tony, you have a blog. You want to give out the website to people?
Caught me by surprise. I got to think of it real quick.
From the press box, right?
from the press box blogspot.com.
Yeah, check it out. For all you post just about every day, don't you?
When I set that up 8 years ago, I was going to do maybe once a week, and at the time in 2007, Rocky Mount was on the way to winning the first 15, so it became a daily thing, and I haven't stopped since.
Well, there you go.
Yep, pretty much every day.
So if you want to hear more about Rocky Mount, especially get some previews of their upcoming state finals game this week, be sure to check out him. Also sure to check out the Rocky Mount Telegram, because folks, we have a packed show for you tonight. One of those Telegram writers who has been covering Rocky Mount this entire playoff push, Foster Lander, he will be on with us later to discuss their win over Eastern Alamance, as will Tony Dowdy. But first, we are going to talk Southwest Edgecombe versus Kinston. A great, gritty football game. 22-21 is the final. Unfortunately, Southwest Edgecombe does fall. The Cougars went for 2 in the first overtime period, right after they had scored, after Kinston had already scored and gone for 1. Southwest wanted to win the game right there, ran it up the middle, did not get it through with their fullback, and unfortunately Jonathan Kopp's men fall about from where the referees were showing us, maybe about a quarter to half a yard short of a state finals appearance. Heartbreak for the Cougars, but a great great season for them. This is only their second loss of the season. Obviously, there was that weird in-conference game against Washington where everything just kind of fell apart. But other than that, you had huge wins. You had a rivalry win against Tarboro, big wins against everybody else in the conference, blitzed through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. And Tony, they just could not find that extra yard, but nothing for the Cougars to hang their heads about.
You know, in my 2 predictions I made last week, I picked both of our local teams.
Yes, you did.
But I was very hesitant about who I was going to pick the following.
Yes.
But I knew I was going to pick Southwest Edgecombe because I think Southwest Edgecombe was probably the best 2A team in the state going into Friday night against Kinston. And I have no problem whatsoever with going for a 2-point conversion. No. Even though it came up short, and everybody, well, why didn't you kick it and go on? The reason why you don't kick it sometimes is, the first thing is, Kinston had the momentum. They had tied it late in the game, and boy, they go right in there and score right off the bat. And you play the odds of what's best for me. And I think it was probably Jonathan looked at it that, boy, if we can catch them here, we can go home right now with a win. And he came up short. I have no problem with a coach putting it on his shoulders that I'm the one at fault over, say, the Clinton Bunn game where Bunn scores a touchdown, kicks the extra point, and Clinton scores a touchdown. And whether it was a bad snap, a bad hold, or a kick, but the ball never got even to the goal post, and they lost by 1. So would you rather lose because a kid kicks a bad kick or a snapper snaps the bad snap? Or would you rather lose when my whole team trying to push forward and we didn't make it? And I would rather, boy, Jonathan Cobb can be my coach any old day because he was going for a win.
Absolutely. And not just that, but you think this was Southwest bread and butter. This is what they did all season. They pounded the football down people's throats.
And they tried many 2-point conversions all year long. This wasn't a surprise that they went for it.
Not at all. And maybe a little bit of a surprise was that the final play that was run, they actually had a play drawn up. I believe it was some sort of sweep to the left side. But the kids talked them out of it. They wanted to run the play they had run to get the initial touchdown in overtime and try it again with the fullback. Did not work out for them. But, this was also, a way of the kids taking ownership. And this is not to say Jonathan Cobb then puts all the blame on them. He certainly didn't do that. But this is a very grown-up moment sort of for these Cougars players. It was on them. And this is something I think they'll look back on. It was, and I think kind of like you were saying, it was us. We decided it. We went for it. It wasn't a bad call by the refs. It wasn't a bad call to go for it. It just didn't work out. As Josh Wallfish wrote, the play was 30 wedge, and unfortunately, it just didn't work for them. But credit to Southwest Edgecombe, they had a 15-8 lead at the half. They actually had it for most of the third and fourth quarters. They got the lead at halftime just at the end of the first half on about a 40-yard touchdown pass, tipped twice by 2 Kinston players, just fell right into the lap almost of Quantellis Norwood, who scampered the rest of the way for the score that got them to 15-8 at the end of the first half. And Tony, when we look back on this season, what can you say about the journey Quantellis Norwood has had? Someone who unfortunately he's shot after the North Edgecombe game, which I believe was the second or third week of the season, and he comes back. We don't know if he's going to come back all year. He comes back in limited use in conference play, is there for the entire playoff run, and makes a catch I'm sure he will never forget, even in a loss, for the rest of his life.
Sometimes when a player is out, somebody else has to fill in. And when that player comes back, he kind of makes the little missing part, and everything falls in place. And with him coming back, you look from the time he came back, even part-time, Southwest Edgecombe was dominant during that period.
Absolutely, and that helps Tucker Pridgeon out when he's throwing, which isn't often in this. Maybe a little bit more than Raymond Cobb would have thrown the football. Jonathan likes to throw just a little bit more, but not too much. But he's also a great blocker. He's just another big guy that can get in there and block for the great running backs they had, Marcus Williams, Keaton Williams, who both have had, unfortunately, their senior year ends not in a state title game, but just amazing careers, Tony.
Well, you think about this. There's 8 divisions that play state football championships. So that means 32 in 1A East, 32 in the West. So there's like 248 teams start out on the first Friday night when the playoffs start. And all but 8 of them are going to lose. So it is a sudden defeat.
Yes.
My season's over. Gosh, we were rolling along, and like Eastern Alamouse, 14-0, and they are not going to play anymore this year.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
So
their team put a very abrupt end.
Yeah, a sudden defeat when you make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's tough. You know, Kinston had been making a sort of habit of leaving it late, as we say. Every one of their last now 3 straight playoff games, second, third, fourth round, every time they've had to score in the fourth quarter to retake the lead. And this is a team that's now 15-0 on the season. I will quickly say, as some people noted on Twitter, I kind of might have bashed Kinston a little bit for this, and I won't apologize for it either. Southwest Edgecombe, their crowd showed up in a huge way, packed the stands there in Kinston. I was very impressed with the showing they had. Even, and I will say this, the support from other area teams. I saw people wearing Wilson Fike gear. I saw people wearing Wilson Hunt gear. The legend himself, Jeff Craddock, and other people from Tarboro. 2 bitter rivals at the function of the Junction, but you know they have a great relationship even outside of that, and to see them there, to see what really was almost an entire area get behind this team was great.
There are a lot of people that just enjoy football.
Yes.
Certainly, Tarboro fans went. I know of some Rocky Mount fans that couldn't go to Rocky Mount games, so they went to Southwest game.
Hey, that's only an hour away, and Mebane, I think, was like 2 hours or change.
Oh, yeah, you had to fight the traffic in Raleigh to get there, and plus a Christmas parade in Mebane.
There was a Christmas parade in Mebane. Someone didn't expect their football team to be playing that night. So I give a lot of credit to Southwest Edgecombe's fans. You guys really showed up. Yeah. Kinston, disappointed, maybe only about 40% full in your stands.
Coming up Friday night with Rocky Mount playing in Chapel Hill, there will be a lot of people. For instance, the basketball. Now, the basketball state championships in 10 and 12 were on Saturday.
Yes.
So a whole lot of people could go on Saturday, where Friday night, I got to work, I don't get off to 5, that kind of thing. Maybe the people, the Northern Nash people or the Nash Central people might not show up like they did in basketball. But there's a lot of people that just love. There's people that I know that will go to state championship games every year, don't care who's playing.
We've done that before.
Oh, yeah. And
we went to Raleigh one year with nothing on the line, but free food. Free food is always great. We love free food. But hey, if you bosses, if you're out there watching the show tonight, and you have employees, maybe you just shut down around 5 o'clock on this Friday and let everybody get out. It's less than an hour and a half from here to Chapel Hill. Let's get everybody in the community. Let's get behind this Griffon team, which we'll talk about in a little bit again. But just want to quickly wrap up here. Southwest, you had an amazing season. Like you said, I think for my money, they were probably the best team in 2 small A, and it's unfortunate that their season ends in a Eastern Finals, but you have nothing to hang your heads about.
Those kids, when they're 50 years old, will be able to say, I only lost 2 games my senior year, and one of them was a heartbreaker. They had a great season, 13-2. I've said it on my blog, and I've said it on the radio in the past. If you play on Thanksgiving Friday night, you are great regardless of the outcome on that Friday night. So anybody that played on Thanksgiving Friday night didn't get there by luck. They had earned it to win 2 games to get to the third one.
Tarboro, North Edgecombe, we're looking at you. And hopefully maybe we'll see Tarboro in this sort of scenario next year, with a win, of course. But that's going to do it for our coverage here. Let's end it. Dylan Hodges, we've mentioned him a few times tonight, a great junior leader. He's one guy. Southwest will be losing a heck of a lot of players, a lot of seniors. Dylan Hodges, though, a junior, he'll be back next year and will be anchoring that defense again. He was gracious enough to give me about a minute interview after the game on Friday night. It was very cold there, but he was, I could tell he was devastated, but he was a man, and he came over and he talked to me and he gave me a great interview. So let's head out to Kinston High School for the interview with, Dylan Hodges post-game. All right, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there, but if you want to check out that interview, you will definitely be able to see it online on our YouTube page and on our Facebook page, facebook.com/allnewsportshow. You can check that interview out with Dylan Hodges again. Not too much there. It's only about a minute long, but you'll be able to see that this coming week. All right, Tony, this was not the only game in our area, though. As we've mentioned, Rocky Mount headed over to Eastern Alamance, 3 seed taking on the 1. Rocky Mount, we just talked about an amazing, dramatic game here that Southwest played last week. Rocky Mount played in an absolutely dramatic game. A lot of you saw on our Facebook page the final touchdown of that game. Nick Bynum scored. This one, though, not as dramatic. Rocky Mount gets a huge 42-21 on the road at Eastern Alamance. You've looked at the tape. You saw the game. What stood out to you? What are your thoughts?
Well, previously in my prediction, I predicted Rocky Mount was going to win. And my thinking was Eastern Alamance thought they won the state championship when they beat Southern Guilford, a team that is a thorn in their side, just like it was a thorn in our side last year. They thought they had won the state championship. And many of if you go to the sites, I go and read what everybody else says about their teams and stuff, but I don't comment on it.
There's some crazy people in there.
Eastern Alamance was thinking Rocky Mount's fast, but they just did beat Moorhead, and we wore Moorhead out. So and I don't care what you think. The way the town talks is the way the team's going to listen all week. And they were flat as a pancake because they thought they had already won the state championship. They were going to breeze in beating Rocky Mount. And they didn't care who they're going to play for the state championship. They'd win that game too. Rocky Mount got off the bus ready to play. And there is one thing about this Griffon team. And I've made this comment on my blog before. If you watch them standing there lined up for the national anthem, and I carried the chain this year at Rocky Mount, so I'm standing on the other team sideline, and you hear the comments of the players. And I believe it was the second playoff game when they played, no, the first playoff game when they played Williams. One of the players back there says, "Well, we went right down the field and scored on this team. They must not be that good." And when Rocky Mount wound up with 35 or whatever it was, and one of the things that they don't look when they're standing out on the field, they don't look like a bunch of great football players, but after they've hit you and nailed you for 4 quarters, people kind of get, this team is the fastest team I've seen, and they hit like crazy.
Absolutely.
And I think the quarterback, Lamont, for Eastern Alamance will attest that Rocky Mount knows how to hit when he rolled out. He got nailed practically every time.
Yeah, and that's something, that's one thing we've noted, Wes and I have noted, I'm sure you've noted as well, something that we weren't sure of with Rocky Mount this year, and is what was part of the reason they had such a tough game against Eden Moorhead was sometimes that defensive secondary isn't that great, just to be perfectly honest here. They gave up a lot of soft passes to Eden Moorhead, and that's how they were able to make a lot of their offense. One way to combat that, though, is with the speed and the way they hit. If you can get pressure on the quarterback, which is what it sounds like they did against Eastern Alamance, if you can ring his bell a few times, if you can make him know you were there, it's going to get in his head, especially at the high school level. And I believe you said that he went 13 of 33.
13 for 33 passing.
And that's amazing. When that's your bread and butter, then you don't have to be perfect as a defensive secondary. When you can get that kind of push from your front seven, that can have an amazing effect. It's almost like that's sometimes the best kind of pass defense is just getting to the quarterback.
Well, absolutely. I think if you really look at it, if a quarterback in high school has a chance to stand back there and look all day, there's not too many good secondary.
Yeah, that's true.
And using Greenville Rose for an example, they had some great athletes that we had coverage on Greenville Rose, but the guy is catching the ball 6 inches, we're stretching, and he's got the ball 6 inches above our guy. We were there, they still made a catch. And pretty much every team that Rocky Mount has played, when they've put pressure on them, they haven't completed a lot of passes.
Right.
And the other night, the quarterback was under extreme pressure most of the night. Pretty much in the third quarter, when the game was already 28-0, Rocky Mount kind of backed off a little bit and didn't press that much, and that's when they kind of got to moving the ball a little bit. I don't care who you are. You're here 28-0 in the Eastern State Championship game. I'm bringing home a trophy tonight. 28-0. We got this game won.
I was already ready to go ahead and start booking a hotel for Friday night.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of natural. Let's ease up a little bit. We don't want to get hurt here and not play next week.
Of course.
And the other team says, "Boy, we're getting embarrassed. We better do something about it right now. Or we're going to get killed 56-0 in this game." So between one kind of easing off and the other one stepping on the gas a little bit, Eastern Alamance was able to get back in, but when Rocky Mount went back to blitzing again, he was throwing it to us more than he was throwing it to his guys.
Well, two things I never thought I would heard coming from this game. I believe there was a pair of pick sixes for Rocky Mount, one coming right after Rocky Mount had taken a 14-0 lead, and I think that's the moment when everybody was like, okay, they're running, they're showing their skills, they're up 14-0. Okay, Eastern Alamance is going to wake up though and give them at least a ball
That's
game.
right.
And then that pick six happened. Everybody's like, oh, we could have a blowout on our hands now.
And the thing about the pick six, they had driven down the field. They were about the 20-yard line when the pass went off and got picked off. But it was picked off because he is going to run around the end and try to throw. And two people are wrapped around him. And instead of losing 6 yards, I'll just throw it away. And when he throws it away, it's a dead duck. And instead of going to his guys, our guys are facing him, seeing where the ball is. His guys running down the field. They don't know where the ball's at. So we pick it off and off we go. So the pressure on the quarterback was a big difference. And another thing about Eastern Alamance is they were kind of a one-show pony. Quarterback, he runs it and he throws it. And Rocky Mount, he's still got 140 yards though.
That's pretty good.
They got 206 yards passing, but still, they moved the ball pretty good. But when the times were needed, Rocky Mount got the big defensive plays.
And one thing that we also need to mention as talking about that defense, Foster Lander, who will be joining us here in a little bit on the telephone, he mentioned on one of his tweets that Sherrod Green was injured, but you saw Sherrod Green today, Tony. It looks like he's doing okay.
Well, the Rocky Mount football team was in the Christmas parade this afternoon, and he was standing flat-footed, and every now and then you could see him kind of do like this, so I didn't see him kind of holding his leg doing this kind of thing, so maybe, just maybe. But that will be a big thing for this coming Friday night. If he cannot go 100% or not even go at all, that will be a big hit to the Griffons. Another thing about standing on the sidelines with the chains all year, you hear coaches talking. And a lot of coaches on those sidelines says 44th best football player we've seen this year.
He's really good. Sherrod Green is really good. And he actually got hurt as well in the Eden Moorhead game. So he's been kind of battling injuries here, but that just shows you kind of what kind of warrior he is. Still going out there, even hurt, giving it the best he got. And again, Sherrod Green, just a junior. You
know, one thing about this will be the 16th game of the season. Everybody's hurt somehow or another.
That's true.
You just can't play night after night and bang as hard as Rocky Mount bangs and not get something wrong with you somewhere along the season. And that is another reason that Rocky Mount's been good in the playoffs, is they've been pretty healthy.
Yes. And that is something that takes a bit of fortune. Fortune has really smiled on Rocky Mount a lot this year. They got through the conference play fairly cleanly. No real big injuries. Then, and I'm not going to say this because obviously Eden Moorhead gave them all they could handle. The draw broke a little bit in their favor. Getting not only Eden Moorhead, but getting Moorhead at home over Havelock, who is somebody I think a lot of us thought here could go to the state championship. That certainly helped. And then, I think yes, they had to go on the road to play Eastern Alamance, but like you said, Eastern Alamance by kind of beating Southern Guilford, Southern Guilford, correct?
Southern Guilford, yes.
Southern Guilford.
In overtime, 26-20.
Also might have been maybe a little bit of a better team. And as you said, Eastern Alamance maybe thought, oh, well, we've got this one now, coming out a little overconfident. Fortune has really favored Rocky Mount this season, but I will say this, they have taken every single bit of the advantage that they've been given. And it's not enough for Fortune just to smile on you. You then have to take advantage of it.
You have to grasp it.
Yes, and that is something Rocky Mount has done very well this year.
They sure have.
Something I think they've done, and I'll let you kind of wrap up here then, is something I've noticed, and it's still happened a few times, but I've said it a lot less this year. The dumb penalties has really been cut out. This is and has become over time this season a very mature Rocky Mount team.
And a lot of that has to do with 4 years into his coaching stint. Jason Battle
He's done a fantastic
has become
job
a better football coach too. He made some changes in his coaching staff, which helped with the people he brought in, a different attitude. and the team has played much better. Right offhand, I cannot think of one time this year that they got some of those personal foul penalties because things weren't going right for them, and now I start mouthing off. I remember on the sidelines of the first playoff game, we got a personal foul. We hit the guy late. The pass was incomplete, and we nailed him and got a personal foul for that. But they got up, took 15-yard penalty, went to the next play instead of mouthing off and everything. So yes, that has helped a lot this year for this Griffon team to keep the mouth closed in most cases and accept whatever and go on to the next play.
And the next play will be in Chapel Hill this Friday night, 7:30 p.m. We will be there. Tony Dowdy will most likely be there, maybe up in the press box.
Yep.
You see how we did that from the press box? I'll be out on field level, hopefully periscoping some of you guys in my pirate periscope. Totally unauthorized by the NCHSAA, but we're going to do it anyway. So that's going to do it, though. We're going to actually now take a commercial break. We're going to get Foster Lander on the phone, but folks, still plenty more to come. Along with that, we'll have the Crystal Clear Pepsi 6-pack standings. We'll do Bishop's Corner, Todd Gurley update. We'll preview the Rocky Mountain title game, and then we'll also have, of course, the most exciting minute of your week. And it may be a minute Jose Mourinho wishes would not happen. It'll be 60 seconds of soccer. All that and more when we come back here on the All New Sports Show presented by Roger G. Taylor and Associates.
The new place is perfect, or at least it will be, with a little help from Dex. In the book or at DexKnows.com. Dex can help you get results fast and deliver the best local advice so you can get it done right here, right now.
We should do this more often.
Dex, results for the here and now.
Deals, deals, deals. Come and check us out. PJ and PJ Sportswear.
Come da porca picchita va bene, se tu la parla miezza americano, quando si fa l'amore sotto la luna, come da bene in casa.
We open every day, Monday through Sunday. You come down here and we go take care of you. I don't follow the trend, I create the trend. I'm PJ, the trendsetter.
And welcome back. PJ, the Trendsetter, all new sports show presented by Roger G. Taylor and Associates. I'm Edward Green. This is Tony Dowdy. Foster Lander will be joining us in just a mo on Through the Raven. But right now, it's time for the most exciting minute of your week. It is 60 seconds of soccer.
The team who came back from the dead.
We're going to put 1 minute on the clock, and away we go. Wubba-dub-dub. Tottenham with a 1-1 draw at the Hawthorns against West Bromwich Albion. Woo. Unfortunately, a Dele Alli goal was erased just about 14 minutes later. I was very distraught. But again, a disappointing point on the road is always better than a disappointing loss on the road. Right, Liverpool? Right. It's for you, Wes. Foster Lander, you're joining us. You have 30 seconds. Is there anything you want to talk about with Arsenal?
Well, I think they got to do something. I mean, they did it last year buying Gabriel in the January window from Spain, and he was at least, at the very least, good depth. But Wenger said that he's not going to do anything unless it's the right fit, for better or for worse. So. But with the number of guys, just the sheer number, you feel like they've got to do something.
A world-class starting 11 in injured reserve right now for the Arsenal Gunners. But hey, Foster, it could be worse. you could be in a relegation scrap with Chelsea.
This is true.
Oh, Chelsea losing to Bournemouth this weekend. I know. I don't know either. So that's going to do it for 60 Seconds of Soccer. If you want more soccer talk, you can catch us on a Foreign Affair pod on iTunes, Music Store, Podbean.com, and NGFCSports.com. But Foster, we have you on here to talk Rocky Mount football. You were at Eastern Alamance in Mebane this past Friday night to watch Rocky Mount, for the most part, cruise to a state title game berth. Again, 42-21 over Eastern Alamance. What were your thoughts kind of as the game unfolded? I was looking at your Twitter feed while I was at Southwest Kinston, and it was just like, okay, Rocky Mount scores. Oh, they've scored again. Oh, God, they got a pick six. Now the route is on. I mean, just what are your thoughts from the game on Friday night?
Yeah, everything happened really, really quickly in that second quarter. I mean, it was only 7-0 after one, and Eastern Alamance, both teams had been able to move the football, but the pick six for Rod White, it really felt like it was kind of the turning point where it was 14-0. Eastern Alamance driving down the field. They had first and goal, and a penalty, I think, backed them up to Eastern Alamance's, I guess, the 18, I think it was, yard line. And Lamont was under pressure. Thomas Battle, Artavius Richardson, Sherrod, all those guys. And he was about to go down for a sack. He should have just taken the loss. It wouldn't have been a huge loss, but instead tried to throw the ball as he was falling down, and Rod White picks it off, 85-yard touchdown return. And from there, it felt like it was going to be the Griffons' night. Nick Bynum, the long touchdown run before halftime to make it 28-0. And even with the somewhat of a comeback that Eastern Alamance tried to put together, it never really felt like it was in doubt.
Foster, I want to ask one question. Do you know why Sherrod wore number 80 the other night instead of 44?
Yes, his mother packed the wrong color jersey. So they packed, I guess, the blue jersey as opposed to the white. Okay. But he was wearing 80. I guess there's just an extra jersey they had packed.
A lot of people in the area listen to Burlington radio on the internet, and the Burlington crew on the radio was in total chaos. They didn't have any idea. Plus, they thought B.W. Holt was the coach of the Griffons.
Whoops.
Well, especially with, I'm sure it was disappointing not seeing basically Rocky Mount's best player, or so they thought.
Foster, we know this is your first year here covering this team, but just talk about the job Jason Battle has done this year, guiding this team to now a state title game appearance, something that they haven't been to in at least 20, 30 years?
1980, I think, was the last time.
Yeah, about 35 years.
1977 was the last title game they played in, I believe. That's what Wes said, at least.
Just talk about Jason Battle's job this year.
Yeah, Battle, I mean, this is his fifth year, and so they've been patient with him. They've given him time. And the issue with Rocky Mount, at least from what I've heard, is that there's never a lack of athletes, never a lack of good football players. But this year, more so than in the past, I mean, you hear them talk about how there were a lot of individuals, and it was all about me, and past year's team. And though there are some definitely stars on this year's team, they're still wanting their teammates to do well and encouraging each other. So the chemistry and the mental side, I think, has been the biggest difference for them.
Well, Foster, obviously, as we've mentioned, Rocky Mount will be at UNC Chapel Hill in Chapel Hill this Friday night, 7:30 p.m. for the state title game against South Point, the number 2 seed out of the West. South Point is also 13-2 this season. Give us a little preview of anything you've heard or read about how Rocky Mount might match up with South Point and vice versa.
Well, the South Point offense will be a little bit different than what they've seen the past few weeks. Both Moorhead and Eastern Alamance both had really athletic running quarterbacks who could throw the football a good bit too. Now, John Lamont, big kid, only completed 12 of 31 passes and 3 interceptions for Eastern Alamance. So, not maybe his best night, but he didn't have a whole lot of help around him. But with South Point, based on the numbers I've seen from them, I think they've only completed between 30 and 40 passes all year. So it's, from what I would assume, probably a more option run-based offense.
Yeah.
They got 2 running backs. Hats are above 1,600 rushing yards on the season, so those are going to be kind of the 2 big guys that they'll have to stop. But I'm sure this week we'll start learning a little bit more about South Point.
Yes, South Point runs a quarterback option with the fullback, the main ball carrier. The fullback just Friday night in the Western State Championship had 28 carries for 175 yards. Their quarterback has rushed for 1,500 yards and the fullback 1,900 yards, and they've only got 4,400 yards total for the season, and 500 of those are passing yards. So the tailback, so to speak, who are trailing the quarterback, don't touch it a lot. So it will be an option team to play Friday night.
That, like you said, Foster, that will be a very interesting change of pace after playing these couple of triad teams who really like to spread the ball out and throw it a little bit. Well, Foster, what can we kind of expect from you guys over at the Rocky Mountain Telegram this week leading up in your coverage up to Friday night?
We will have Jesse and I think Josh. I'm not sure if both of them are going. There's the press conferences tomorrow morning at Vaughn Towers and NC State, so at least one of them will be there with coverage of Rocky Mount in Atlanta this weekend. That was the SEC championship game. So I'm out of town for the next day or two. Other than that, we will have, I know, an opponent preview story from Josh, and I'm planning on doing 2 different features on Aaron Parker and Jaquez Johnson. So we'll have those 2 to look forward to. Outside of that, the usual kind of the storylines, and then at the very least, 2 of us, and I believe both photographers will be at the game Friday night. So all-out coverage, no 2 teams to worry about, just Rocky Mountain this week. So,
all right. Well, Foster, we certainly hope we see you and can meet up with you at the Winning Coaches Press Conference with Jason Battle this Friday night and get a chance to talk to you. And certainly, if not then, we'll be talking to you guys again this coming Sunday when we recap the entire state title game. But Foster, it's great to talk to you, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon and reading what you guys got in the paper this week.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Foster.
See you, Foster.
All right.
And that was Foster Lander of the Rocky Mountain Telegram. As he mentioned, Josh Wallfish, also there, and Jesse Nunnery. Those guys do a great job, as does the Wilson Times. Unfortunately, the last couple weeks, we haven't had really a reason to talk to the Wilson Times.
Basketball season over there.
There you go. But we will be getting once basketball season is in play, we'll be talking to them a little bit more. And of course, you can read all their great pieces there. I'm sure they also had some stuff from the Southwest Edgecombe game. All right, with that, though, we are going to transition on into the crystal clear Pepsi 6-pack. And as it's getting a little stretched out at the top, a little stretched out at the bottom, a little tightened in the middle. So let's go to the picks. Nobody perfect this week. We can't all be Clint Williams, unfortunately. So let's go to pick number 1 here on the board, and it is the MIA Wes Bradshaw. Oh, poor Wes. He missed our 2 high school games, picking Southwest and Eastern Alamance. He did get Clemson, Michigan State, and Alabama. Unfortunately, he picked USC over Stanford. Why did nobody believe in Stanford? Wes goes 3-3 on the week. He's 64-20 overall. Let's go to the next one, which I believe will be. Oh, it's Clint Williams. Oh, Clint Williams just rising out of the ground. 4-2 does Clint go. He gets no high school games right, but all our college games right, picking Clemson, Michigan State, Stanford, and Alabama. So he's 60-24 now on the season. Let's go to the next one. And that's me. Oh, we're saving the best for last, obviously, Tony. 4-2. I like Clint. Oh, God, I'm starting to think like Clint Williams. This isn't good. Missed the 2 high school games. Got the 4 college games right. I went against my alma mater, and it paid off. Good for me. He wasn't offside, though. Clemson over North Carolina, Michigan State over Iowa. I'm not bitter at all. Stanford over USC, Alabama at Florida. So let's go to the last one now, which is, of course, Tony Daddy. There he is. 3-3. The only one was to pick Rocky Mount. Somebody commented on Facebook he was a smart man. Fortunately, he wasn't smart enough to pick Stanford. Well, that's the one I'm bitter about.
If I had a choice between Southern Cal and Stanford, I wouldn't pick either one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I had to pick one.
Stanford's the best team ever. But he also missed on Southwest. He did get Clemson and he did get Alabama. Don't think anybody picked Florida. Don't think anybody was that crazy, not even Clint Williams.
By the way, my Clemson score was 40. I predicted 45-38.
High five for you, Tony. All right, let's go to the standings now and check out the overall result. Oh, I love these transitions, Lee. I am on top now, leading 3 games over West Bradshaw. I have West Brom on the brain. Tony Dowdy is just 1 game, though, behind Wes. Clint is 3 games now behind Tony. And, of course, we will have the final week of the official Crystal Clear Pepsi 6-pack standings next week because we still have a team in. So we'll have 1 more week of picks, and we're done with the standings, so we'll come back out here, Lee.
Looks like I can't win because for Dane with only 1 game to go, I'm out of it.
Well, unless I do something really stupid. You never know.
Like recant.
Yeah, there you go. I just recuse myself. So we'll have 1 high school game. Gee, I wonder what that's going to be. It will be Rocky Mount South Point, and then we'll be doing. God, I don't know what we're going to do this week because I think there's only 1 college game, and I think that's Army Navy.
Yeah.
So God help us, are we going to have to do NFL games?
I don't think you really need to put the Army Navy game on there. I think Navy's about a 40-point favorite.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So please stay with us. Those will be on our Facebook page, facebook.com/allnewsportshow. You'll be able to see those in this upcoming week. Now we head into the Bishop's Corner segment. And Tony, you were actually doing PA this past Friday night, which was the 4th when men's basketball took on Maryland Bible and had a resounding 110-53 win. They also won 2 games on Saturday, so they had a long weekend, beating Columbia International 92-68 and Maryland Bible. You could say they thumped them 60-44. Women's basketball also had a win on Friday night, 65-52 at William Peace. And Wesleyan, geez, they had 2 games. They also won 84-70 over Columbia International. So a pair of wins over Columbia International. Poor Columbia International. But you were there Friday night, Tony. How do our battling Bishops look?
I think the battling Bishops may be about as good as they've been since the year of 2011 when they went to the playoffs.
Yes.
This team has a good combination of strong shooting guards. They've got a couple of big men, including the Rocky Mount big man, Dante Battle, who's there.
I think Mike Gainey wishes he still had him.
But Wesleyan has several very good inside players, and they've got some outside players, and even Isaiah Austin from Rocky Mount last year made the all-tournament team.
Oh, yes.
He got 15, I remember, from Friday night. He had 10 or so on Saturday and made the all-tournament team. So Isaiah, if you remember from Rocky Mount days, could make 5 in a row in about 40 seconds.
Yes.
And a close game would be out of the way. He had a stretch like that Friday night that he was bombing them away, and he made the all-tournament team. But Wesleyan has a really good squad this year. The next home game for the girls is Sunday, and the boys play Monday week. So
it's exam week coming up.
Exam week and whatnot. So not a whole lot going on this week. But the boys, I haven't seen the girls yet. Next Sunday will be the first time I've seen them. So the boys are really looking good.
Well, they are 4-3 now. The men's basketball team is. They have not played yet a conference game. Yeah. Some in USA South have, but not men's basketball. Women's basketball has. I don't trust this overall record here, but they are 1-0 in conference play.
Well, I wouldn't trust anything in non-conference right now because Division III schools, you don't know the quality of the teams they play. For instance, Wesleyan played High Point. That's a Division I school.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And the score wasn't awful. It was competitive. So, non-conference games are hard to, especially for Division III teams, is deciding how good a schedule have they played so far. They've played a tough schedule so far.
Speaking of that, men's basketball will actually be hitting the road this Wednesday. They'll be going to the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina. Yeah. Good luck.
It could be an excellent. Coastal Carolina could be a playoff team.
Absolutely. Yeah. Women's basketball will be playing this Saturday at Longwood at 2 p.m. and then they'll be home on Sunday against Barry at 2 p.m. Yeah. Men will be the next Monday after that. They'll be hosting Guilford at 3 p.m. Yeah.
3 p.m. game, yeah.
3 p.m. game, is that 3 p.m. on a Monday? That's a 3 p.m. on a Monday.
Yeah.
Take off work, who cares?
School will be out too, so that's one of the reasons they're playing it. Nobody can be there.
High school will be out. And on December 15th, women's basketball will be at Piedmont. So that will be at 5 p.m. And of course, we should also mention this isn't Bishop's basketball, but our high school basketball, the the Nash County Christmas Tournament will be the 15th, 16th, and 17th. We'll be doing the boys and girls championship on that 17th. So that'll be very interesting to seeing how some of our teams look. Some question marks, I think, as we enter high school basketball, such as what is basketball? We're so focused on football right now. We need to get back into basketball mode. But give us a week, just 1 week, and then we'll be ready for you. All right, let's do now our Todd Gurley update. The only time we like to darken the doors of the NFL is to keep track of Todd Gurley. We have another very bad defeat for the St. Louis Rams. Todd, we got to get you out of St. Louis, man. We got to get you out of there. Todd goes 9 carries, 41 yards, no touchdowns. He did have a long of 34, so that means his other 8 carries, he had 7 yards.
Yeah.
But again, they lost 27-3, so again, running game not really a priority. Thanks, Nick Foles. Out of the backfield, receiving, he did not have a catch. But somehow Wes Welker, who's had about 8,000 concussions, got 2.
You know, one of the things about the NFL this year, this is the year of the injury.
Yes.
Every team has loaded down, and one of the reasons for it, I believe, is the new contract they have out now. They don't hit during the weeks, so when they play on Sundays, somebody nails them one time. First time I felt this since last Sunday. I'm hurt. They got to do something about that where they're making contact in practice more than what they are right now. They've lost too many players this year to make the NFL a viable. I mean, we got 3 good teams and everybody else is 5-9 right now, or whatever the record is. It's terrible this year.
Todd's stats now on the season. He has just shy of 800 yards. He has 6 touchdowns. He has 17 catches for 143 yards. No touchdowns that way. He has lost a fumble. And he's projected, though, and this is without even playing every game this season. He's projected to be. Yeah, he's projected to have over 1,100 yards this season.
He set out the first 2 and didn't play in the second game until the second half.
He's rookie of the year.
800 yards and didn't play all the games. It's pretty good.
No, he's not bad. This is how good he is. He's fifth. He's 5th in the NFL in yards, 4th in the NFL in rushing yards, 6th in the NFL in touchdowns. Todd Gurley, ladies and gentlemen.
Not a bad start.
Oh, we got to get him out of St. Louis, though. Get him off that turf. That's brutal. We also now let's go. This is usually the spot on the show where we preview next week's games. Just one to preview this week, folks.
What are you gonna do next week?
God, I don't even know.
Preview basketball, I guess, huh?
Yeah, well. Rocky Mount will be heading to the state playoffs, state finals, as we mentioned, against South Point. 13-2. They are the number 2 seed out of the West. They also had a bit of an easy game against Kings Mountain. They won 29-7 this past Friday night. And so you gave us a little bit of a preview, Tony, as did Foster Lander, about what we can kind of expect from South Point. How do you kind of see this game playing out?
Let me just throw some facts out there at you about both teams being 13-2. They're both playing in a state championship. South Point lost to Shelby Crest.
They're pretty good.
Undefeated, playing for the 4AA state championship.
They're pretty good.
They also lost to one of those schools in Shelby.
Real quick.
While I'm talking. They are playing in the 2A state championship game against Kinston. Who's Kinston playing?
That team.
They beat South Point. Rocky Mount will be playing in the state championship, and Greenville Rose, one of the teams that beat them, will be playing for the state championship. And the other team that beat Rocky Mount lost Friday night. So these are 2 pretty good teams because nobody bad has beat them. Neither one of them has a South Carolina on the loss like Carolina has. Nobody has a bad loss, and they're coming in, both of them pretty much really good.
It felt like a drive-by swipe at Carolina, but that's fine. Their other loss was at Crest, 31-13.
They lost to Shelby Crest and then
lost to Shelby.
Shelby, that's right, Shelby.
Yep.
South Point is a option running team. Their fullback has rushed for about 1,900 yards, Friday night, he had 28 carries for 175 yards. The quarterback, it's kind of, we're going to hand off to the fullback. You better tackle the fullback or he's going to run 70 yards with it. And if I decide to keep it, I'm going to run around the end. And he has over 1,500 yards rushing, their quarterback. The quarterback's name is DeAndre King, and the fullback is Rylan Etherton. And they are, between them, have about 3,500 yards. The team on the year has 4,400 yards. They have passed for 500 yards, so that means the tailbacks who trail behind the quarterback, pitch it to me, have only 500, and they have 9 ball carriers other than the quarterback and the fullback that have carried for a combination of 500 yards. Now, on the other end of the stick, Rocky Mount is averaging almost 290 yards per game and over 100 yards passing. This could be the big thing about this ball game, that if both sides are kind of stopping each other on the run, Forrest Bell could be a big difference in this game.
He had a very good game against Eden Moorhead 2 weeks ago.
He's had a big game the whole playoffs. You know, along there about Southern Nash and everything, he kind of went.
He figured it out.
Had a couple of bad games, but boy, the last 5 or 6 or so, his quarterback rating for the year is over 100.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good in high school football.
Yes.
The quarterback rating for this quarterback, DeAndre King, is 38.5. So they're not going to be a passing team unless Rocky Mount has all 11 on the line of scrimmage and there's a man standing out there wide open with nobody covering him. So this game comes down to, can Rocky Mount stop the running game? If they can, they're going to win this football game. I think they will win this football game. Now, Rocky Mount does have a history with South Point. Played them in basketball, state championship 2010, and 84-79 was the final score. So South Point plays around that Gastonia area where Shelby Crest is, where all those schools, even Kings Mountain was from that area. So that is a great brand of football they play out there. One other thing, that conference they play in is a 3A, 2A split, not a 3A, 4A split. So they have a couple of wins against conference games against 2A schools, but they lost to Shelby. So, this is going to be a good football game, and if Rocky Mount does not fumble the football, they hold on to it like they have most of the games in the playoffs, they're going to win this football game.
There you go. Just a quick preview of some of the games South Point has had this year. In conference, they gave up only, if I'm reading this correctly here, let's see, 21, 34 points in conference, including 4 shutouts. Again, that is a split 3A, 2A conference. They are used to close games as well. Like you said, they lost to Shelby 35-28. They beat West Charlotte 35-34. So they do have some close games.
And that was a really good win. West Charlotte's 4A.
And Western won their third round game was a 28-27 victory. So both teams, very tight third round games, sort of blowouts in the fourth round. And they're going to be meeting up again at Chapel Hill this Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Get out there, go support the Griffons, no matter who you pull for. Let's give a trophy back to the new area.
As soon as Mike Gainey gets back from the meeting tomorrow morning and they have their allotment of tickets, the tickets will be on sale at Rocky Mount High School sometime. And I would suggest, because of the traffic situation, getting to Kenan Stadium on a Friday afternoon like last week, it would be a good idea to go ahead and have a ticket. Even I believe it was a sellout at Eastern Alamance. I don't know if they stopped selling tickets or not, but they were advertising, don't come, we don't have any tickets. That won't be a problem in Kenan Stadium. In 2010 and 2012, there was about 7,000 people that were there supporting Rocky Mount, whether it was fans from the area supporting the local team or what. 7,000 in a 60,000 seat stadium will look empty.
Oh, yeah.
So certainly we need all we can. And being a Friday night over a Saturday, there's going to be a lot of people, I can't make it, and that's going to be unfortunate. Now, you can go to Time Warner Cable. Time Warner Cable is playing all the games live on the network, and you can go On my blog later in the week, when I run it down, you can actually go on to I think it's Carolina14.com or something like that, and they will have every game to be played this weekend that you can actually watch it on the internet. Due to the fact that Time Warner Cable is not in every city in North Carolina, they cannot just give it in the Time Warner Cable. They've got to open it up to everybody, and the game can be seen on TV or on the internet. It's a matter of being able to find it.
If you also follow at All New Sports Show, and if we have media passes, you will be seeing some periscoping live from the field level. I can't promise I'll know what down and distance it is every time, but well, I think Carolina's going to have a better scoreboard than Kinston does. But
probably.
Yeah, probably. But as mentioned, we will periscope if we can. I will have my phone, and we will be broadcasting as much as we can, as much as my phone will allow me to on a battery. So check that out. And of course, we'll be bringing you next Sunday night. We'll be bringing you the press conferences, trophy presentation, hopefully an interview with Jason Battle, win or lose, just one-on-one, and that's what we're going to have. So, Tony, that's going to about do it for us here tonight. Again, get out there, support our Griffons. Southwest Edgecombe. I don't have taps, but for you, we will see you in 2016. You guys have nothing.
Season.
You guys were great. Tony, one more time. What's your website?
FromThePressBox.blogspot.com.
Twitter at All New Sports Show. I'm at Edward Green. You can also follow at Wes Bradshaw 21 to hear him complain about not being able to go to a Rocky Mountain State Championship game. Love it. Cruises are great. You can also follow us on Facebook.com/allnewsportshow, YouTube.com/theallnewsportshow, and email us allnewsportshow@gmail.com. Check out the podcast later this week. Always comes out on Thursdays, and that is going to do it. So for one name, producer Lee, who did a great job in there tonight, Tony Dowdy filling in for Wes Bradshaw, I am Edward Green. We will see you next week, hopefully with some hardware from Kenan Stadium, on the All New Sports Show presented by Roger G. Taylor and Associates. The Raven, Ricardo, says goodnight.